Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, another episode of controversial subjects in Islam. Today we're going to talk about life insurance. Is life insurance halal? Is it haram? And we want to discuss it. So one thing that we learned, for example, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and a lot of the scholars, they teach us when you want to give a fatwa, number one, make sure you get all the verses in the Quran and all the hadith that are in the subject and put them in front of you. Don't just take one verse and one thing and twist it around and use it to say it's halal or it's haram. No, get all the verses in the Quran, get all the hadith. And since this is something that's new, this is not something that was there over 100 years ago, 150 years ago. It's something that happened relatively in the latest decades. So get aqwal al-ulama. What do the scholars say? If there's an imam that says it's halal, let's see why they said it's halal. If there's an imam that said it's haram, let's see why they said it's haram and then study it together. So now what we want to do is we want to study the people that said it's haram, the people that said that it's halal, and the different verses and a hadith that have to do with the subject, and we'll get our conclusion together. Let's see the people that said it's haram. The people that said that it's haram say Allah says in the Quran that there's different kinds of bay'ah, selling and buying, business, trade. There's different kind of trades. There's one that is haram, riba, and there's the other bay'ah which is halal, generally speaking. Like, what's the difference? The difference is Islam is a religion of creativity, of invention. Business and trade is supposed to teach you, inspire you to be creative, not to be unjust and unfair. What do I mean? Here's what I mean. Suppose that you go to a foreclosure where they're selling homes, foreclosed homes. You buy this home for $5,000. Islam wants you to get creative, to do business. So you go, you fix the roofing, you paint it, you buy some furniture. The same house that's $5,000, you sell it for $50,000. That's halal. Allah wants you to do it. Not 50, sell it for 70,000. Allah wants you to do that. You buy a car from an auction for $1,000 and you repaint it and fix the body and put some new tires in it. And instead of $1,000, you sell it for $5,000. 100% halal because Allah wants you to be creative and get into business, get into trade. And the value is different. I'm buying a car. I'm giving you my money. You're giving me a car. Two different kind of instruments. Perfectly halal. What if the price goes up in payments? For example, you tell me, I'm going to sell you my car for $5,000, but I can make you payments. If you make payments for 2 years, instead of $5,000, I'll sell for $7,000. So I'll sell you my car cash, $5,000. But if you make monthly payments, $7,000. Is that halal? It's 100% halal. Again, I'm not saying this a third party. I'm saying we are two parties. So I'm not going to a bank and taking money and returning it more money. No, I'm talking about you and me. You're selling me your car, you buy the car for you sell me the car cash, $5,000, or 2 years payments, but for $7,000. It's also halal in both cases. All the fuqaha, the four schools of thought, say it's halal. Ibn Taymiyyah has a saying, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, that says it's min al-'ina and says it's haram. But all the four scholars, the ulama, the madahib schools of thoughts, say that it's halal 100%, undoubtedly. So because it's different, because it's creative, because it's going to teach you to trade and fix and paint and do this, and it teaches you an occupation, it's 100% halal. Now, suppose I come up to you and say, here's $1. I want to sell you this $1 for $5. I'll give you $1. You give it back to me $5. That's 100% haram. Why? Because one of two things. Either you're mentally ill and stupid. You're going to buy $1 for $5. Either you're crazy or stupid or dumb. What's the second thing? Or you are in desperate need. You don't have money to feed your kids. You don't have money to pay your rent. You don't have money this. You have to take someone to the hospital. So you say, okay, Bashir, give me $1 this month. And next month, I'll give it back to you $5 because you're desperately in need. And Islam doesn't want us to capitalize over the need and urgency of people. Islam wants us to be charitable and helpful and creative. And there's no creativity. There's no creativity in injustice, in giving you $1 and taking $5. No. This is dhulm. This is a form of injustice. There's no creativity. There's no genius. There's no trade. There's no business. And that is why riba is haram. That is why gambling is haram. That is why, because gambling, you put $1 and maybe I get $1 million, maybe I lose my money. There's no creativity, there's no genius, there's no calculation, there's no. So life insurance is a form of gambling. It's a form of riba. What do we mean? You and me sign up a policy for $100,000. that if we die, the people that inherit us are going to inherit $100,000. So what do? Very simple. I pay monthly payments of $100, and after 1 month I die. So I paid $100 and my family got $100,000. You, mashallah, tabarakallah, Allah gave you a long life. You live 500 years. So you paid 5 million. Every month you pay $100. You paid $5 million, and at the end your family only gets $100,000. You follow me? So it's a form of gambling or riba or not of riba. So this is why the people that say it's haram, they say it's because the form of business that it is. It's composed over injustice. It's composed in a form of gambling. Basically, you're putting and you don't know how much you're going to put, and you don't know how, you know how much you're going to get, but how much am I going to put into it? It's an injustice. In some case, I pay very little and get a lot. So it's unfair to the insurance company. In other cases, it's unfair to me because I put a lot more than the money that I'm getting, and it's money for money. And in Islam, we have what's called asnaf ribawiyah. So if I give you gold and you give me more gold at the same, no, it's haram. If I give you money and give me more money, it's haram. But if I give you money and you give me a car, or I give you gold and you give me a house, 100% halal. Okay. So those are the people that say it's haram. Now, the people that say it's halal, why do they say it's halal? Why could it possibly be halal? Number one, there's something called at-ta'min at-ta'awuni. It's like social security. It's like social insurance. All of the scholars say that that is 100% halal. Number two, there was a poor man that came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he was begging. He was asking this man and asking this man. We came to the Prophet ﷺ to ask for, a couple of dollars or something, or dinar back then. The Prophet ﷺ said, come here. He didn't give him money, but he gave him something even better. He said, come here. What kind of money do you have? He says, Prophet of Allah, I have 2 blankets. Like the ihram, one I tie around myself and cover myself with, the other one I lay and sleep in it. He said, you see that one that you lay and sleep in? Bring it to me. And the man got it to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ got up in the minbar and started to auction it, just like eBay. He says, who wants to buy this? Who wants to? And the Sahaba, they figured out if the Prophet ﷺ is auctioning it and it belongs to this poor man, he's trying to help him. So they started to raise the price, more money. And they bought it from him. So the Prophet ﷺ gave him the man the money and said, my brother, go and buy an axe. An axe. There's a lot of forest not far from Al-Medina. Go and cut wood. There's a lot of the weather is cold and people need the wood to burn fire and to cook and everything else. And come and sell the wood to the people of Al-Medina. So the man went and bought an axe and started to do that. Not long after that, one day the Prophet ﷺ is sitting in the masjid and a man came up to him, dressed so good and looking sharp. The Prophet ﷺ said, and he asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do you know who I am? He said, who are you? He said, Prophet of Allah, remember that poor man that was begging and looked very bad? He said, yes. He said, that's me. Now my business is going good. I'm cutting wood and I'm making a lot of money. And the Prophet ﷺ was very happy and said, for you to have wealth and leave wealth for the people that inherit you is better in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than to leave them broke. That's, as the funny saying goes, they say some people when they die, they leave wills, and some people when they die, they leave bills. So we as Muslims are not supposed to die and leave bills for our kids. They die and we have to pay the mortgage, we have to pay the car, and we have to pay this and the electric bill. No, we want our family, when we die, that they have homes and properties and cars and money in the bank. May Allah make that easy for all of us. So Islam wants you to leave something for Islam. So the essence is when you die, you're supposed to leave wealth, or that's what's better and loved by Allah, as Prophet ﷺ. Again, the people that said it's halal, they spoke about necessity. They spoke about necessity. For example, in Islam, one of the things you have to do is protect your life at any cost. Number two, protect your wealth. So because I protect my wealth, what do? I put my money in the bank. I put my money in the bank. Why? To protect my wealth. I don't put it there because I want riba and I want to deal with riba. No, I put it there. My intention is to protect my wealth. And so they say when you do life insurance, the intention is not the riba. I want the riba in it. You're doing it as a form of protection of your well-being and your children's well-being after you. Number four, necessity, generally speaking, or the society that you live in. For instance, if you work in a company, most companies in the West, they will give you free life insurance. They'll say, you know, in the case of your death, you're going to get your, you know, your family will get $50,000 absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything. That's halal because I'm not putting money and getting money. It's 100% halal. Or the law says you have to have this kind of insurance in your vehicle, for example. Then it's, I'm not held responsible. It's not haram on me to put that insurance because it's required by the state. So all the scholars also agree on that. Number 6 is what's called fiqh al-waqi'. Fiqh has the book, the Quran and the Sunnah and what it says, but it also looks at the reality of the people. Fiqh al-waqi', what's happening out in the streets. Islam also takes that into consideration. For example, I'm involved, alhamdulillah, in a lot of masajid on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and I'm looking with my own eyes, and I see in certain communities in the last couple of years where we had COVID, in one community where the average person makes $15, $14, $13, doesn't have a job, looking for a job, that they go to the masjid every Jum'ah and 1 or 2 people have died because of COVID, either here or family members otherwhere, and they don't have money to even bury them. They don't have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to bury them. And some people in their will said, if I die here, I have to be buried in Pakistan. I have to be buried in Egypt. I have to be buried in Sudan. They don't even have money to bury them here. So now the people that have somebody that died, they can't even be sad over that. Now they're trying to figure out how can we even bury this person? And they go to the masjid, and the masjid is begging. After every masjid, we can't even pay the bills for the masjid and our fundraisers, and now we're begging for so died. We need everybody to donate. We need $5,000. And next Jum'ah, 3 people died. And we need this. So the reality, fiqh al-waqi' says that there is a necessity for this. Rather than somebody dies and everybody's begging and the family members cannot even mourn them properly because now they can't even pay their bills, that if they had life insurance, you have 2 people that are working, they get a check for 100,000, for 200, for 500,000. That's going to take care of their worries and take care of their needs and the bills and whatever payments that they have. So they can at least focus on the burial that they have and the other stresses of and mourning of losing this person. May Allah have mercy on everybody from our family members that has passed away. Right. Now, we also want to find the recent people. When we talk about recent people, we're going to find that there are a lot of scholars, very powerful scholars, very powerful fuqaha that are respected all over the world that said it's halal. Generally speaking, not even just out of necessity, but generally speaking, they say that it's halal, and their fatwas are very long. This clip I'm doing in English and Arabic. In the Arabic one, I actually quote and I play some different recordings of some of those scholars that said it's halal. But since we're doing it in English, I'm just going to give their names and you guys can research them and find more information. One of them is a well-known Imam and Sheikh by the name of Mustafa Zarqa, who is very powerful, respected. His opinion is very powerful and honored all over the world. Like, number 2 was Nasr Farid, who was the Mufti of Egypt, someone who is a graduate of Al-Azhar and one of the greatest scholars in the Al-Azhar and has studied, and someone that fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that did all the research and said that there is nothing wrong with it. Another one is a sheikh that's very well famous. Until now, mashallah, he's a professor in Al-Azhar University in Egypt. And he's loved so much that he's also a professor in the Islamic University in Saudi Arabia, I believe in Abha. So he's a professor in the Islamic University in Abha and the Islamic University of Al-Azhar in Egypt. And this is a professor with a very big TV show and millions of people and very well respected for his knowledge, and people that are doing masters and PhD in Sharia in Al-Azhar and in the Islamic University in Saudi Arabia, they come and study under him. And he says it's not out of necessity, it's in every occasion that life insurance is 100% halal, because when you do it, you're not going with the intention of, I want to have life insurance. No. And I put that clip in the Arabic section of this dars. So now we come to the $1 million question. We heard the people that said halal, and we looked at all of their proof. We looked at the people that said it's haram and all of their proof. What do we think? What do we recommend? What do I think is the right opinion? Is it halal or haram? And this is going to shock a lot of us because we're not used to it. I believe, and my fatwa 100% is Allahu A'lam, la adri, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know, Allahu A'lam, for a number of reasons. Number 1, a fatwa does not mean what do I think? What am I more comfortable with? Or what is more convenient for me? No, a fatwa means this is what Allah wants. On one side, I see that it's a form of gambling, it's a form of riba and this. On the other side, I see the necessity and what's happening to the Muslim, the complications and how it make their lives much easier if it was halal. But what does Allah 100% want? I'm not 100% sure. So I say Allah, la adri. Number two, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man afta bighayri ilm falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar." If you give a fatwa and you're not 100% sure about it, prepare yourself for a place in the hellfire. There's a place in Jahannam ready for you. And I don't want a place in Jahannam. I'm not going to give a fatwa if I'm not 100% sure. Number three, the Prophet ﷺ says what? When you give a fatwa, you're looking for the reward? Yes. Like, listen to this. Man qala la adri faqad afta. If someone says, I don't know, Allahu a'lam, Allah knows best, you get the full reward of giving a fatwa. So I give my fatwa. My fatwa is I don't know. And in front of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, I get the full reward of giving a fatwa. Number four, the Muslim scholars did not rush and give you the fatwa. They used to take their time and hit the brakes and research it. A man came, I believe, all the way from Al-Maghrib, the area of Morocco and Algeria back then, to the greatest Imam of his time, the Imam called Imam Malik, and Prophet ﷺ said there will be an Imam after me in Al-Madinah that will do this. And Imam Malik is so great. And he asked him 40 questions. And Imam Malik gave him 4 fatwas. And in 36 of the question, he said, La adri, I don't know. Even today, and I put that clip in the Arabic section if you want to listen to it, of the same lecture about life insurance. One of the greatest scholars, our Salafi brothers, they when you talk about ulama, scholars, they say the greatest Imams are, and they mention Ibn Uthaymeen. Ibn Uthaymeen, Allah Akbar, this is a man that explains Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim and the books of fiqh, and he's, the students of his students, not his students, the students of his students are professors in fiqh and Islamic jurisprudence and muftis and so on and so forth. And yet, when he was asked about insurance, he said, La adri. And the clip is actually in Arabic. It's not that he doesn't understand insurance, it's that he does not want to give a fatwa in it. He's not 100% sure. But he knows a million times more than anything that any of us knows. And that teaches us something in Islam, is if you don't know, don't rush to say something is haram or halal. There's a joke that I have about 2 of my friends that were studying medicine in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s. Around that time, there was a lamb, I think, or a sheep in England that were cloning. They were cloning it. I think it was, maybe the lamb's name or sheep name was Dolly, and you guys can correct me. I can't remember the exact name of that animal that they were going to clone. Anyway, they're medical students, and they were having a discussion, and one of them said, scholars give a fatwa, just say haram, bid'ah, whatever, and they don't even have the proof. The other one said haram. They know what they're doing. They give a fatwa with knowledge. He says, no, they don't. He says, okay, you don't believe me? I'm going to prove it to you. So both of them are medical students. Basically, they're doctors. And they go pray Jum'ah. And after Jum'ah, he held the hand of the Imam, says, Imam, I have a question for you. Is cloning halal or haram? Like what's happening with this lamb or sheep, whatever, Dolly or whatever her name is. The Imam said, it's haram. What do you mean cloning? Yeah, because they want to change the creation of Allah. So now they're, imagine, 2 medical doctors or 2 students of medicine. They asked the Imam, say, Imam, can you explain cloning to us? How does cloning work? What is cloning? The Imam said, Wallah, I don't know, but it's haram. I don't know, but it's haram. He said, let's go to another masjid. They went to another masjid. They met the Imam, held the hand. Imam, we have a question for you. Is cloning haram or halal? Oh, of course, it's haram. It's this. They're changing the creation of Allah. And this is kuffar. And, okay, beautiful. Can you explain to, those are 2 doctors. They know what they're talking about. They understand cloning. They say, okay, Imam, can you explain cloning to us? I don't know what cloning is, but it's haram. So my beloved brothers and sisters, if we don't fully understand something, we don't fully understand the proof, we haven't looked at all the verses, all of the hadith, what the scholars say about it, and we're not 100% sure if really is Allah saying that it's haram or halal, then rush and say, La adri. You get the full reward of giving a fatwa. You're not forced to say something just because you lean or because you think if I'm strict and I say haram, people are going to respect me more. And if I say it's halal, people are going to say that I'm much lenient and I'm smart and I'm helpful. And no. If you're not sure this is the religion of Allah, this is what Allah wants, then say La adri wa man qala la adri faqad afta. And in conclusion, my brothers and sisters, why don't we work? Whether you think it's haram, then don't say anything about the people that say it's halal, you stay away from it. If you think it's halal, do what you have to do and stay away from the people that are saying it's haram and commenting them or criticizing. No. Let them stick to what they believe in. In the meanwhile, all of us, let's work together because we know there's some kind of insurance called at-ta'min at-takafuli, like Social Security, where we build a network together, a business together. And there's a few models, I think in Emirat, they're trying to do it. And in Egypt, they're doing it. Try and build on that. And we all agree that it's halal. Let's do it. Or like the Islamic Bank Al-Rajhi. If you ever lived in Saudi Arabia or went to Hajj or Umrah, you'll see a million branches, mashallah, of Al-Rajhi Bank. And Al-Rajhi is a man that was very pious. He just passed away recently, Allah yarhamu. He was a great Muslim, very sincere Muslim, and he opened the bank. And then he went to the Mufti and said, Mufti, I know banking there's a lot of haram things on it. I want you to inspect my bank. So they sent them scholars, Islamic scholars, and they said there's 70 things that are haram in your business, in the way you do car loans and home loans and this and corporate loans, and fix it, fix it, fix it. Next year, he said, come and look at it. No, there's only 30. Very good. Okay, come here, come here. Now they're down to about 5 or 4, I think, even with their credit cards and everything else. So why don't we as Muslims use your creativity? Let's do our investments. Let's work together, whether we think it's haram or halal, to work on things and bring options and bring other solutions that are 100% halal that we all agree on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, bless your knowledge, and hopefully benefited from this episode. Jazakumullah khair.